SpongeBob References. If you watch the older seasons of SpongeBob and then watch some of the new episodes of the show, then you've probably seen some references to those older seasons in the newer seasons. Some examples of these references are fun, a picture of Bold and Brash, or this soda commercial. And while I don't dislike the references themselves, there is a problem with them, and the episode Friendiversary shows it very well. Friendiversary is an episode where SpongeBob is celebrating his friendship with Squidward, but Squidward does not. SpongeBob continuously surprises and hurts Squidward while trying to share old memories with him or make new ones. Squidward, to save himself from SpongeBob's memories of him, erases SpongeBob's memories of him. However, SpongeBob had attached the combination to the secret formula safe to a memory he had with Squidward, so Mr. Krabs forces Squidward to recreate SpongeBob's memories of him. Before I talk about the problem I have with the references and how this episode shows it, I want to give my opinion of the episode itself. I'm indifferent towards this episode. I think this episode could have been good, but the way it was handled didn't do it for me. In episodes like this, it's almost like you have to have a predetermined liking for SpongeBob no matter what he does, even if something bad to someone who didn't do anything to deserve it. I know Squidward erasing SpongeBob's memories isn't nice, but I empathize more with Squidward's desire to be in peace and left alone than SpongeBob's desire to inconvenience Squidward. I know that Squidward's reaction is over the top, but that doesn't make SpongeBob stalking and hurting of Squidward justified. And Squidward only erased SpongeBob's memories of him because he knew he couldn't reason with SpongeBob, because he tried to, and SpongeBob didn't listen. It wasn't the worst, but I think the SpongeBob team can do better than this. And I think one of the main problems I have with this episode is how it handles its references. In most SpongeBob episodes, references are usually no more than fleeting moments. They're not bad, but they ultimately feel like they're only there to remind you that you're watching the show that made all these memorable moments, characters, phrases, or objects back then. Episodes like Friendiversary, however, take the references and attempt to make them part of the story. But it's almost like the team that works on the show acts like the references legitimizes the episode and makes it worth watching. And people seem to like this episode mainly because of the references, like the scenes with Squidward attempting to get SpongeBob to remember his memories of him. I'm sure some people enjoy this episode for reasons other than the references, but I'm sure that the reason this episode has gotten any recognition was because of the references. And again, I don't dislike references, but if an episode isn't good outside of its references, then is it really that good? There are already episodes that have SpongeBob inconveniencing Squidward. There are already episodes that have Squidward going insane. What does this episode do differently than other episodes that have these same traits? If the answer is the references, then what would happen if the references were replaced with things that were original to this episode? What if SpongeBob's memories weren't from older episodes, instead being memories that are made for this episode specifically? Wouldn't that make this episode lose some of its appeal and become another random episode of modern SpongeBob that's just okay? Salty Sponge, an episode that came out in the same season as Friendiversary, is an episode that seems to know how to handle its references in a good way. The episode has SpongeBob working somewhere that isn't the Krusty Krab, which is something we have seen before. However, we haven't seen SpongeBob work at a place like the Salty Spittoon before, and so this episode is giving you something you haven't seen before. This episode also has SpongeBob being tough, which again is something we've seen before, but this episode has SpongeBob being tough from the perspective of others without having to change himself, unlike Muscle Bob Buff Pants, where he used fake muscular arms to seem tough. And so this episode isn't giving you something you've already seen. And if you remove the references and replace them with things that were made for that episode, then the episode wouldn't lose its appeal in my opinion, because it focused more on telling a fun story rather than focusing on the references. However, Friendiversary focuses more on the references rather than telling a fun story. And just so everyone knows, I don't dislike the team that works on SpongeBob, and I don't dislike SpongeBob as a show. I just hope the team that works on SpongeBob can make better episodes than this that don't rely on references. And I believe they can make better episodes than this because they've made episodes like Salty Sponge, which shows they can make good episodes that don't rely on references. And that's the end of this review. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye.